Hello, welcome. I've just picked up this bike from the bike recyclery. Something about the yellow, fanciful yellow, caught my eye, and so I just had to get it. It's labelled as Bath CMB Cycles, presumably a bike shop. The bike has some fairly interesting parts throughout, notably the Mavic wheels and the Sax 5000 brakes. The person that had this before has put two large chain rings at the front. We're going to find out why. Here it's written VC Caladois. We're going to look up what that is. The bike also has a nice TA Specialites crank and Specialites pedals, which I didn't even know existed. Slightly worn, unfortunately, though. I might have to swap these out for something else later on. There's some holes on the rear dropouts as well as the front of the bike on the forks. Apparently a lot of road racing bikes from this period had this feature, obviously to save an enormous amount of weight. We've got a strong light headset, quite nice. I think this is the one with those long pin bearings. And we've also got some Campagnolo Athena shifters, brifters. They look a little bit worn on the covers, on the hoods, but otherwise I think these are good. Judging by the look of the bike and the components, I'm guessing this bike's from probably the 80s, and it might have been updated with some parts along the way. The frame clearly needs to be cleaned up. The plunger bolt was a weird number 7. At the front it was number 6. Looks like it's going to get stuck. Okay, now it makes sense why there was a bolt behind that rear derailleur. What's happened here is that the threading for the hanger bolt has been stripped and the person's done a repair. Worst of all though, and I just want to show you how weird this bottom bracket is. There's hex keys right there. There's, I think there's 3 of them, and then there's 4, hold on. Yeah, there's 3 hex key pins, and then after there's 3 normal pins. I have no idea what brand that is. I couldn't find it. I have a feeling, though, very strong feeling that this is one of those kind of repairer bottom brackets when you've stripped the threading. Not something I really want to even open, if I'm honest. It seems to be okay and kind of fluid, so I'm not going to touch it now in the end.
Looks like we're just going to have to clean up the bike, so I'm going to start cleaning it with some soapy water, and then we're going to put some paint renovator and see if we can get that yellow to come out a bit more. After cleaning up the frame and putting some paint renovator, the frame looks a little bit more brighter and yellow. We're now going to head off to the paint room. I have some black spray paint that seems to be the same tint of black as the one I used on my Connor Explosive recently. And since the stays are very chipped, I'd like to paint over them, and it'll make it look a little bit nicer. The expander for the plunger bolt was fairly seized, so I'm going to put a bit of grease on this part. We're going to clean up this wheel. Surprisingly, there's no play on the bearings. I am going to open them up though and add some grease. More closely though, there's surface rust on all the spokes. It's making it very ugly, so what we're going to do is just use a metal sponge, and we're going to rub that all off. If you don't have a garden to clean your bike parts in, the bathroom is the next option, and that is my case. Obviously, you don't want to be doing this when the wife is at home. You need to do this very, very fast, discreetly, and make sure everything is cleaned when you have finished. Right now we are at the next stage for the spokes. I'm cleaning them now with a metallic brush, a little bit rougher, but it's the most efficient way. This morning we're going to replace the chain rings from another crank that I found. It's another TA Specialites, though the threading here has been damaged. So simply, I think all I'm going to do is remove the chain rings from this one and put them, and take the ones from here onto here, which is a nice 32, 42, 52 compared to the 26, 43, 40, probably 4, 5, which is a bit of an odd combination. Next thing I wanted to try is putting a 8-speed freewheel on here. It's 7 at the moment. I managed to find one, and I want to see if it fits into the frame. The bearings on this hub also extremely hard and tough and need to be clearly greased, or even possibly the ball bearings need to be replaced. Right, well, it was worth a go. I'm fairly certain that the spacing here is going to be an issue between that dropout and the stay. The chain's probably going to rub on it. I found the reason for the ball bearings not spinning very well. There actually was one missing in on one side, and there was only 8. Not only that, it also looks like there's a piece of metal, and it appears to be the metal spiral for the cable housing that somehow got in there. I imagine that someone had this stuck on their finger and accidentally put it in there when they're putting grease. Okay, now that that's sorted, we need to deal with these spokes. We're playing the guitar on them practically. Let's get that into the touring stand. Yeah, so it isn't that bad. It's just really where the spokes are loose. Otherwise, the wheels seems to be fairly true. Yeah, I mean, we're pretty close now. I mean, probably a millimetre or less, and everything seems true. Good. Oh, there's one I missed. Let's start assembling everything. The frame looks way more happy and vibrant. Unfortunately, it's completely raining today, so the images are very dark, but we're going to begin, and then we'll finish the next or whatever. Guess what? The smaller chainring 32 is just too big for the bike. It's literally just hitting it. We're gonna have to swap everything out. Sometimes small details like this make all the difference. We didn't have a lot of choice since we've only got 2 of the main rings, well the rest of them attached, so I put the old one back on, and the combination instead is going to be a 32-26 at the back. I was thinking that if I'd put a 52-42-26, the rear derailleur might not take it. It might be too large of a difference in chainring size. I didn't want to really install this and find that out after, so we could go double, but then after I have to get some bolts that are shorter, and then we need another probably a double derailleur. So this or maybe the triple would work, but I don't want to find that out. I reckon this will work. Short story, I was selling a crankset to someone recently, and they asked me if they could test a pedal on the crank beforehand, as someone had sold them one with a damaged thread. So I said, okay then, yeah, not a problem. So he starts threading it on one side, and it works, and then he puts it onto the other side, same pedal, and he goes to me, it's not working, it's something stuck. And I say to him, you realise that the threading on the other side of the crank is threaded the other way, right? You've got a left and a right pedal. And then he goes, oh really? And he looks at his pedals, and you can't see the marking, because obviously in French it's G, and the other side it's D droite, right? I think in Italian it's another lettering. So anyway, he ended up buying them for me. I actually found in the bike shop bin randomly one cap, dust cap for the crank with Specialites, and obviously you need the right threading because it's larger 23. You never know what's going to be useful. Fortunately there's only one though, so the other side I'm going to have to find something else. It's heavily snowing outside, cold, but at boy does not stop, rain or snow. This morning we're going to prepare the cables, routing them, and we're going to put the guidoline on. I've probably spent an hour already this morning, which I'll explain after, on just the shifter cable for the rear. What's really time consuming is these ferrules. So you have to get that through on the side first before you can even begin to put the shifter housing in. And then it goes in. This is where I had the most issue. You need a step ferrule to fit into this little part here. And I tried quite a few and none of them were fitting in. So I ended up taking a plastic Shimano one and making my own. I'm going to attempt to put a zip tie here, and this kind of keeps this part nice and straight. I put 2 and I've moved it underneath it to make it a little bit more cleaner. This morning we need to determine the length of the chain. It's a HG70. I just had this spare and it was still in good condition, so I thought, why not? It's a 7/8 speed kind of chain. I think roughly we've got it onto the right length now. I've got it on the smaller cogs and the smaller chainring. I've also put it onto the largest ones to see if I could get this derailleur to stretch. And so anyway, we're going to cut that down. Last night I rejuvenated this saddle. It's an Italia, I don't know which model specifically. All of the faux leather I'd unstuck, so I re-glued it. It's black and yellow, 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 which goes with the colour scheme of the bike. I'm such a lemon. I thought I read HG70. It's not. It's a HG71, which means it's an 11-speed chain. So that's obviously not going to work. Luckily, I had this Sunrise chain spare, so we're installing that now. You could see instantly something was wrong because the links here for the chain were not going onto the teeth of the chain rings properly. Something's not right there. Whatever I do with this front derailleur, it's just not working perfectly. Raising it up and down. I've also adjusted the cabling, the limit screws, everything, and I've also put it at a slight angle. Every single time there's an issue. Right now, at least we're kind of passing on each chain. I have a feeling maybe it's the spindle length. I'm not sure though. I mean, this has been changed probably, this bottom bracket at one point. So we'll just have to be content with the results that we've got. I also found out some information about this bike. So VC, Caladois. So VC is Vélo Club. So it's just a cycling club. Caladois is actually a kind of a nickname for a region. It's near Lyon in France. There you go. all there's left to do now is to replace the brake pads, and we're set. As soon as I tried the bike, I experienced issues with the shifting. I've eventually solved the problem. So the Sachs 5000 did have a triple, however this is not it, and I had to look up a photo to be able to identify it. So now we understand what's going on here. We have a double derailleur, and I'm trying to make it work on a triple, and it's just not really working very well. Not having many options on the table, I've put the crank into a double now. It's fairly easy. I just put some spacers at the back. So now let's install it. Right, I've just adjusted the limit screws now for the front derailleur, and everything's working. So it's only on the extremes, so on the middle and the smaller sprocket here at the back, it's rubbing, so it's not working. And same thing for the larger one, it's not going to work for the back cassettes. But I think this is going to be an issue then with the spindle length. It needs to be shorter, so there's a little bit of chain line issue, but at least it's working.
The frame is very much too small for me. Nonetheless, she loved to ride fast. Ended up being a bit of a pain, this one. So many things to learn, but that's always a plus, I guess. So thank you for listening, and until next time, peace out.